All right, so I think TJ has signed on. We can go ahead and get started here. So thank you everybody for coming to today's Python only installation session. Um, this session is intended to teach you how, like I said, to install a Python only version of CompuCell using Conda on your computer. This will be especially useful during the couple of Python API related sessions that we have during the workshop. It's not required that you install this way. But if you are interested in using CompuCell through a Python only interface, um, you'll need one of these installations set up. So after that, we'll have just kind of some open time until about 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time to help with other lingering installation issues that people may have. Um, so again, if you have not joined the Slack workspace for the workshop, please do so. We use that to communicate a number of different things over the course of the workshop. It's a good place to get help as well. I will pop this link in the chat for you. So you can join with that link. And I do need to mention that this session is being recorded and will be posted to YouTube later today for future viewing. So just so that everybody is aware the session is being recorded, not currently live streamed, but it will go up on YouTube for public viewing by the end of the day. So I think with that, TJ, if you're ready to go, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry, I'm finishing up getting set up here. So give me just 1 second. Apologies. Just 1 second. I'm having some
No
technical
worries.
difficulties here.
I can keep spouting off random information about the workshop if you want.
Yeah, go ahead actually, because I'm having some IT issues with my computer today that I've not been able to get complete control of.
Yeah, no problem. So I guess in that case, we do have for those who are present today who are interested in participating in the hackathon, after the workshop, we have sent out, you should have had an email from me containing a link to a hackathon teaming document. I'll go grab the link now anyway. If I can find it. Oh no, now we're both struggling. Um, I believe somebody will need to maybe test this for me. It should be hackathon doc 2024. So put the link in the chat there. Should take you straight to the, yes, straight to the hackathon teaming document for this year, where you can go ahead and start putting in, if you have a project idea already. Let me go ahead and share screen briefly. We have our folder for if you want to do a lightning talk. We'll kind of present more information in the end of week announcements email that I send out on Friday about how to prepare for hackathon talk. But if you'd like to give a lightning talk, we have a folder here for you to upload them to. There's a template in that folder. For you, this link I'm realizing might be broken because I moved this today. So I'll double check this once TJ gets started, but the template should be in the slides upload folder. for you to download, and you can just fill in those slides with your information. Lightning talk speed between 5 and 10 minutes. If you have a hackathon idea and you're looking for teammates, you can add your name here. If you don't have an idea yet, but you would like to participate in the hackathon, you can add your information to this people looking for projects to join, and we can help form teams in the week between the workshop and the hackathon. If you do have a project idea, we have an example project description format. You can copy and paste this to a new page at the bottom of the document and just answer these brief questions about what your project is, what you're looking for in potential partners, if there's any previous information or previous publications that people should read to understand the problem better, and then your contact information. And then you can leave group members and organizers' comments blank for now. Organizers' comments is for us to give you feedback. So we will be scheduling a couple of hackathon teaming and feedback meetings in that week before the hackathon. So do keep an eye out on your email for that and future announcements, emails. I think that's most of the relevant information for today.
Thanks, Hayden. I'm gonna try to migrate machines here, since I've been having these issues. Let me see if I can join from another machine simultaneously.
Gotcha.
Kind of doing this on the fly, so we're gonna get the stripped down version of this walkthrough.
No, no worries. So we also will be using the workshop website, which is here. Put this link in the chat. As a space for collecting and updating all of the most relevant information about the website. So if you missed something in an email or you've lost the email, just check the website for more information. We'll have all the relevant links posted here. We do have a current schedule for the workshop up as well, so you can see what is happening each day. We'll have a more detailed schedule with kind of a brief summary of each session sent out over the weekend. But for now, you can take a look at the schedule on the website to see what's happening at each point over each day. This may be subject to change a little bit before the workshop. Some of these are a little bit tentative, but this should be what it looks like going into next week.
Thanks, Hayden. I think I am signed in on a working machine and with a highly stripped down set of notes to share and work from. So we'll see how this goes. This is not intended to be all that formal anyway. So so I will grab the screen share and we can walk through this process. As Hayden said, this is not mandatory to accomplish these steps for the workshop, but especially if you're interested in the Python API for CompuCell, this will get you completely set up to do all of the workshop materials that will get into actual programmatic control of CompuCell and Python. For those of you who are interested in the details, CompuCell in general is distributed through Conda. The binary installation that we provide is essentially a thin wrap that automates the procedures that we are going to go through and do today manually. And like using the Python API in general, installing in this way gives a finer granularity of control over how CompuCell is installed, what software dependencies it uses, of course, all within the constraints of what functionality you can accomplish in Conda. And so, Hayden, sanity check me on this. Are we starting this with installing mini Conda?
I think you can assume that people have installed the base CompuCell. So they should already have Miniconda.
Okay, so if maybe we can do a show of hands. Does anyone not have CompuCell installed at this point generally? I'm gonna assume, since I see no hands or anyone speaking up, that everyone has CompuCell installed. Okay, so in that case, I think we can actually just completely scrap all the steps that I transcribed from my original slides and just move straight to the fun stuff. So um, just 1 second.
Please do feel free if you have questions along the way to drop them in the chat and we can circle back around in between steps.
Is there a typo on that slide? The Conda environment create CC3D
Yes,
should be ENV. Yeah.
yes. Thanks, Jen.
And the other command ends the whole CompuCell project.
Yeah. Okay, and also Hayden fact check me on this. So we are working under the premise of that people are going to use the Conda environment installed by the CompuCell installer or installing directly from Conda.
That I'm not sure. What do you think would be the best way?
I mean, we can do both. I have notes here for install, like going all the way through from installing CompuCell from mini Conda. Uh, After that, the rest is the same.
Yeah, let's just do it that way.
This way, okay. Okay, so let's work through first the process of installing CompuCell directly from Conda. Most of the steps that we will review will be the same for those of you who have used the CompuCell installer, except that you can mostly just skip this very first step. That first step being creating a Conda environment and installing CompuCell into it. If you are following along directly, then you can start by opening a terminal on your machine. All of these commands will be the same regardless of operating system. So Ubuntu, Mac, or Windows, launch a terminal, and that'll get you to our starting point. Please feel free to chime in and interrupt or put something in the chat if you run into any issues or need something repeated. Otherwise, I'm going to proceed slowly and we'll see how this goes. So the basic idea when installing directly from Conda is that we want to create a new Conda environment, which for those of you who aren't familiar with Conda, in 30 seconds, a Conda environment is an isolated part of your computer in which you can install lots of software dependencies, and you don't have to worry about all the stuff that you install interacting with stuff, say, installed in other environments or elsewhere. Long and short of it. And so we will create a brand new Conda environment, and in our Conda environment, we will install CompuCell. Now, in general, the way to create an environment, again, from your terminal, regardless of operating system, you can create an environment with the command Conda env for environment, create. And then we want to assign a unique name to our environment by which we can refer to it later. We can do this first by telling Conda that we're going to give a name, and we do that by typing -n for name, and then just some unique name. In this example, we're going to use CC3D underscore env or CC3D environment. So Conda env create, and then -n CC3D env. And when you press return, uh-oh, Conda-env create dash in CC3D env. Let's try Conda create. Okay. So the command here, this can be done multiple ways through Conda. The one that's working, at least on my machine, is Conda create dash n CC3D env. So to repeat, sorry, it's Conda create dash n or name and CC3D env. You can choose a different name if you want to, just remember what it is so that you can refer to it later. You should get a confirmation that asks whether you'd like to proceed. This isn't doing anything except just creating one little folder somewhere deep inside your computer. So you can just press yes to confirm. And that's it. You should get a confirmation that an environment was created. Hayden included in the chat that you'll need to run the Anaconda prompt, which is true sometimes if you run into an issue where when you type Conda and press return and you get some error about the command not being registered or known, then yes, you'll need to run the Anaconda prompt. So if you opened just a regular terminal and tried this command and it worked, then you're fine. You don't need to switch to the Anaconda prompt. If you got an error saying that Conda command was not known or something similar, then yes, as Hayden put in the chat, try again in the Anaconda prompt. All right, I'm gonna assume that everyone is with me up to this point, and you can confirm that your environment was created successfully, and you can also say, figure out what you named the environment in a couple of days when you've forgotten half of this using the command conda-env list. And this will return a list of all of the current Conda environments. And you see that mine is here among a list of lots of environments that have lots of different things installed. Okay, that was conda-env list again. Okay, next step. In general, when doing anything with a Conda environment, like installing things into it or using software that's in it, you need to activate that environment. And you can do this by the command conda activate, and then the name of the environment that you would like to activate. In our case, CC3D env or whatever name you chose for your environment. And when you press return, if this works, you'll notice that in your terminal to the left, you'll see in parentheses the name of the environment that you just activated. Now we've, again, not installed anything into this environment. It's empty, but we are now in a space where we can safely install software directly from Conda without worrying about it interacting with anything else on your computer. And for our purposes now, we're interested in installing CompuCell into our Conda environment. And in this case, what I have planned out is actually to not just install these binaries for CompuCell, but also to install both of the graphical user interfaces that will be used throughout the workshop. And that is the command that you see here in my notes in the middle. CompuCell is distributed through a number of Conda packages. if you are just interested in having the Python API, which is all of the back end of CompuCell, then you can do an abbreviated version of this command, which I'll show you in a moment. For those of you who want the GUIs for the entire workshop, you can complete the next command, which is to do Conda install, just to tell Conda that you want to install some stuff. And CompuCell is available along with all of its dependencies through two what are called Conda channels. And we specify that we are using Conda channels with -C. That tells Conda we're about to specify a channel. Our first channel is Conda-Forge. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. Conda-Forge. Our second channel, so another -C, is CompuCell3D. So Conda install -C, Conda-Forge, and then -C, CompuCell3D. And then the packages for player and twedit. Player being the GUI that we use to execute simulations interactively, and twedit being the GUI that assists in building CompuCell projects and coding them up to do all the interesting things that you'll do next week. So the name of the player package is CC3D-player5. And the twedit package is CC3D-twedit5. And press return and try it, see what happens. Now, if successful, you should get a readout from Conda telling you all of the things that will be installed, again, just into your environment, not throughout your computer. All of the things that will be installed to have the CompuCell binaries with the Python API, player, and twedit. And it's a pretty long list. And what you should find towards the top CC3D and a number of other CC3D packages, player 5 and twedit 5 being the two that we've requested. So if we scroll back down, Conda's confirming. You can confirm by entering Y for yes and return, and you should see a bunch of progress bars show up, downloading and installing all of the dependencies and the CompuCell packages. All right, so see some commentary in the chat. So Anderson says, in my case, I tried to use the video tutorial in the web page. I installed the program CC3D, and then when I used CMD, there's an error with the command CompuCell3D.bat. This was used in the tutorial. Anderson, unless this is a pervasive problem, we may need to look at this one-on-one with someone here who can do support. The CompuCell3D.bat could have either just runtime argument issues or I mean, it's always possible that there's something outdated in the video. I'm not sure if this is an edge case or if it's something that people are experiencing generally for Windows.
Yeah, Anderson, if you want to stick around for the second half, we'll take a look once TJ is finished with the Conda tutorial.
Aaron says, got the following error message, solving environment failed with initial frozen solve. We're trying a flexible solve. Failed again. It seems that when I installed CompuCell, it automatically created a Conda. Yes. So you use the CompuCell installer, and in your case, this process was done for you by the CompuCell installer. So in our next step here after this, we will look at the very slight differences between what we've just done and how you can do the same things, but with the environment that CompuCell installed for you through the installer. Then David, I'm also getting solving environment 2 and still pending. Okay, and I will say that the performance on this installation can vary quite a bit. So don't be misled by how quickly my machine managed to do this. This can depend a lot on both your operating system and also your internet connection speed. So if it's taking a little bit of time, it's not anything to worry about. The big thing is that you don't see any errors and you see progress. It can also take a little bit of time to resolve dependencies. That's, in my experience, especially true on Windows. Mac and Ubuntu tend to be pretty quick, whereas sometimes the Windows environments can take a little bit longer to resolve. So if it's still working, sit tight and just keep an eye out for any errors. All right, any other issues or questions that we can resolve before we try a test? Okay. Well then, let's, for those of you following along, let's try just a couple of quick installation tests. The easy one here. So first, let's start an interactive session in Python. So just type Python and return. Now we're in an interactive Python terminal. And if everything installed correctly, then you should be able to type import CC3D. And if we don't have any installation errors, then this should just return. May get a message about VTK that can be ignored. I've seen that intermittently on some operating systems. But in general, this should just return. You may notice that the first time that you run this, that this takes a little bit longer. That's just some intricacies with Python getting itself set up. Should be slower the very first time that you execute this command, and then thereafter, it should execute pretty quickly. Mine is actually taking an obnoxiously long amount of time. Oh, there we go. So if you tried that and Python returned, then you have no issues with your Python API installation for CompuCell, and you can just get out of Python with exit 0. Anyone try that and run into an error? Give everyone 30 seconds to flag someone down with an issue. Okay, well then let's try a second test. Let's see if we can launch a GUI. So in general, these last two commands that you see here in my notes, this is generally how to launch player and twedit from terminal. And when we switch gears over to using the Conda environment that's installed by um, the uh, the normal installer, you have shortcuts and icons and whatnot to launch player and twedit, but the same is true here as excuse me, as with your installations where you can also launch player and twedit in the same way as what we're about to do. See, David's environment is still solving. David, would you happen to be on Windows? Jim suggests button mashing. David's on Mac. Oh wow, that's surprising. Um, David and Urine are both waiting for their environments to install. Anyone else just waiting for their environment to solve? David's installed CompuCell before. Um, yeah, David, so your previous CompuCell installations could potentially be slowing this down. But shouldn't actually prevent a new version from being installed. Um, the built-in installer will update your version for you. If you're following along from a terminal and also have CompuCell installations floating around elsewhere on your machine, um, you may just need to sit tight and wait for it to resolve. You have the option of, um, and I can't guarantee that this would speed up the process, but if you interrupt the installation and try issuing the command conda clean -a-y, that may purge the cache in your Conda installation to try to speed things up, but again, no promises on that. This may just be an issue of waiting for it to complete. Yiren, how about you? Do you have other CompuCell installations floating around on your machine too, or is this the first time you've installed CompuCell? Yiren has installed CompuCell before as well. Okay, I think right. Yes, it did create an environment for you. Yeah. I think my advice for you would be the same. You can try interrupting the installation and then issuing the command that I've typed out here, conda clean -a-y, and then repeating um, the installation step. Again, no promises, and also it's really hard to predict the performance on this because there are a lot of factors that can govern how quickly this process will complete. What exactly does Conda clean do? Yeah, good question. Conda installations by default will keep a cache of um, the packages that you have previously installed um, to improve the performance of future installations. So if in this case, like for example, we have gone through the process of installing the CC3D Conda package. Conda will keep an archive in its cache of the original download of the CC3D package so that later, if you create another in Conda environment and you try to install CC3D into it, instead of making you wait to download it again, it'll just use what it saved in its cache. Um, that can accumulate a lot of archived packages in the Conda cache, and it can also potentially complicate solving the environment if Conda shows any preference for the packages and versions that it's installed previously. So a surefire way to try to simplify things is with this command. It will not remove any packages that you are using in environments throughout your system. Yeah, so anything that you have installed currently in an environment, it won't affect any of those things. It just keeps a copy of the archive that was originally downloaded and installed. Okay, so Hayden, what do you think in this regard? So we have a couple of people who I think really just, I think it's a situation of waiting it out. Um, what do you think?
Um, so with the next step of starting with the base CompuCell installation, will that work more or less the same way?
Yes.
Um, in that case, it might just be best if they've both got it installed already, just to kill the current installation and just move on from there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so David and Yerin, if you both still have the original CompuCell installations that the installer um, performed on your machine, then I think it's okay for you to just proceed with those, and you can keep these notes for your reference just in the future. But we should be able to just proceed with the next steps with the installations you already have. Is that okay?
So
Yerin says thanks.
this method may still be useful in the future for you if you want to set up like an entirely separate installation of CompuCell through Conda that you want to tinker with without messing up your base installation. Um, it should work using the Conda environment. Yes, so the base Conda environment should work fine from the next step forward.
Okay, so our next stage here, we can repeat these tests when we switch gears to using the uh, CompuCell installers version. But for those of you who followed along here, we can complete a second test, which is to launch one of the GUIs. And the command to launch each of the GUIs is here in my notes on the left. So we can try player. In general, from the terminal with the Conda environment activated, we can launch player with Python -m or module and then CC3D dot player 5. It's Python -m CC3D dot player 5 and return. I've had intermittent issues with this on this machine when sharing my screen through Zoom. So if I have an issue, I'll ask someone else to confirm. but I'm actually okay in this case. All right, so this is what you should see. It may look a little bit different depending on your operating system. But as long as you have a GUI that pops up and along the top you have, say, menu bar items that look similar to what you see on my screen. If you're on Mac, then it should look nearly the same as what you see here. And should have a little CC3D icon. Yeah, David, with your command not found for Python, yeah, let us know if Hayden's suggestion of using Python 3 works. Yep. And you can test the twedit command as well if you want to. I'll say then that otherwise we can switch gears to using the installer version of CompuCell. Uh, David, David, it looks like you may need to activate the Conda. Okay. Yeah, so David, in your case, you're switching over to using the installer version of CompuCell, in which case I'm going to guess that you're in your terminal, CompuCell's Conda environment is not activated. And that would be why the Python command wasn't found. We'll go through the step here in a second of how to activate the environment for the installer. Once we accomplish that step, you should be able to attempt these tests and then get the same result as what you saw on my screen. So let's sit tight and go through that instruction quickly, and then you can repeat the test if that's okay. Okay. Let's switch gears and work through how to do all of this. Not the installation part, but working with CompuCell from a terminal with the installer version of CompuCell. If you're following along so far and want to switch gears and attempt to do this for whatever reason, that's perfectly fine. The important thing to do to switch gears with me is to deactivate the environment that we're currently in. And you can do that with Conda deactivate. You complete that step, you should then find that on the left, you'll either have base written here in parentheses or nothing at all. The results there can vary a little bit depending on the exact configuration of your installation. But what you should not see is the name of the CompuCell Conda environment in parentheses anymore. And I'm going to clear my terminal to give us a bit of fresh working space. So working with an installer version of CompuCell from from a terminal. I'll say everything in my notes that we discussed concerning this last step after installing CompuCell, everything will be the same. The only difference will be how to activate the environment in the first place. When you executed the installer for CompuCell, it created a mini Conda environment for you and then installed all of the CompuCell packages just into that environment. essentially just automates everything that we just did manually together. In which case, to accomplish the same functionality, we just need to activate that environment that the installer created for you. Now, this involves a step that I cannot provide for you as a template generally, because you will need to know where your CompuCell installation is. And this can also vary by machine. But for those of you who want to complete this step, the first thing to do is to locate where on your machine CompuCell was installed. On Windows, it is often, I mean, you have the choice when you run the installer of where to install it. On Windows, the default location, I believe, is in the C drive in the directory CompuCell3D. On Mac, it's what, in the apps? I honestly can't remember. And for Ubuntu, it'll be in your home directory by default. If you chose a different location to install CompuCell, then that's where it will be. The most important thing here is to just first locate where CompuCell was installed when you ran the installer. And the reason for that is because we can use that information to activate the environment that CompuCell created, by just finding the path to the environment inside the installation directory. Now, I might need to give me just one moment. If everyone who wants to complete this step, as I'm sifting through my resources here, everyone track down where CompuCell was installed on your machine. All right, now I'm going to assume that everyone has accomplished that step. If you haven't, please let us know in the chat. Maybe someone who's here to support can peel off with you and help you track that down. Otherwise, I'm going to proceed. Now, in the root directory of your CompuCell environment, I might ask Jim or Joel to help me out on this, because of the issues with one of my machines. Hi, Joel. Thanks for being here. Joel, what's the name of the directory in which the Conda environment is installed for the installer version? Do you have that handy?
Can look it up real quick here. Give me a second.
Great, thank you. Now, for those of you who haven't been following along and want to onboard with us now, Now is your time to launch a terminal or an Anaconda prompt if you have one. The functionality we're going to use here is really to just get to where we were in the first walkthrough when we were installing CompuCell through Conda directly. We want to pick up right after that step, but now instead using the environment that was created by the installer. And we're going to use the functionality where in Conda we can activate an environment by specifying the path to the environment. Great, thanks, Joel. And thank you, Hayden. You can activate the environment installed by the environment or by the installer by just specifying first your path to your CompuCell installation. And then inside your CompuCell installation, there will be a directory called Mini Conda 3. Just one more. Now, what you should be able to do is pass Conda activate the path to your CompuCell installation and then just mini Conda 3. And what this should do is activate the base environment that has the CompuCell installation. Actually, I don't think that's quite right.
Hold on, did you mention like which the environment, where the environment is? Because in that case, you should do a conda env list, and you can get the directory from there, and you will see your base over there that you can just copy.
Yeah, I believe the installer installs CompuCell into the base environment of that
Mhm.
Conda redistribution.
Right, and so if you have two bases, it appears one on top of the other, and then you can select just the directory, or yeah, the path, and put the path instead of activate base.
I'm gonna audible and actually have a general solution um, that is particular to operating system. So inside of your CompuCell installation, there is the mini Conda3 directory. And then inside there, there is a directory called Conda-bin. Now, depending on your operating system, you'll find a script called either activate.bat for Windows or activate.sh for Ubuntu and Mac. Now, if you are on Windows, you can use the command from the terminal, call, and it'll be your CompuCell installation directory. Say, mini Conda3, Conda-bin, activate. Actually, I don't think you need to use call. And on Mac and Ubuntu, CompuCell installation path, mini Conda3, Conda-bin, activate.sh, and you just bash that. In either case, the command will activate the Conda environment that the installer installed for you. It's a question, why is it necessary to activate the environment if it's already installed? That's a great question. So the reason that we activate it is because once we cannot use any software inside of the environment until that environment has been activated. Yeah, good question. That's a very Conda specific feature. Okay, so let's go through this one more time, just for anyone who came in late or who may have missed something. So we are working through the step of activating the environment that the installer installed for you from a terminal. And this procedure is somewhat specific to operating system, but generally you need to know the root directory of your CompuCell installation. The installer recommended a location to you, but you have the freedom to install it somewhere else. But having found the root directory to your CompuCell install, you can then use the following template commands based on your operating system. Again, to activate the environment that the installer installed for you. From a terminal on Windows, you can first enter the root directory of your CompuCell installation, and then the following path: add mini Conda3, Conda bin, and activate. Yerin says it shows as activate.bat. That's correct. Yep, that's the one that you want. You can do activate.bat. Your Windows terminal will recognize either. Just so there's no ambiguity. And on Mac or Ubuntu, the command is bash, and then the root directory of your CompuCell installation, mini Conda3, that may be lowercase, Conda bin, activate.sh. If successful, you will be in the same, or I guess an equivalent state as where we were previously when we created a new Conda environment and installed CompuCell ourselves. In which case, all the same rules and functionality apply. You should find that you can, say, start a Python interactive terminal by issuing the command Python and pressing return, and then in Python, import CC3D. That should return without error. If you're following along and did that test, you can get out with exit 0. You can also test that the GUIs will execute from a terminal with, again, Python-m, and for player, CC3D.player5. And that's it. It's a crash course on installing directly from Conda, as well as getting into CompuCell from a terminal using the installer version of CompuCell. Hayden, I'll turn it back over to you to lead us from here on out.
Okay, thanks, TJ. So it was relatively straightforward once we got through a few bugs. So for those of you who have been following along, this should enable you to participate fully in the Python only sessions of the workshop. There will be 1.5 of those next week. So for the rest of the time until 5 p.m., we'll just have open installation help. So if you have any other questions, if your installer didn't work, or if you're running into bugs trying to launch or run CompuCell, we will be around until 5 to help answer those questions. So I know Anderson I think, had an issue with the base installation that we can circle back around on now. But if anybody else has issues, please feel free to unmute and bring them up, or just drop in the chat and we will try to get to you next. Yeah, Anderson said, in my case, I tried to use the video tutorial in the web page. I installed the program CompuCell3D, and then when I used command, there's an error with the command CompuCell3D.bat that was using the tutorial. Anderson, are you in Windows or Mac? Windows. Okay, so did you install using the binary installer or using the command line? The binary installer. So you downloaded and just ran the executable. You should just be able to launch CompuCell then by searching for it in your start menu and just launching it like you would any other Windows software. So Anderson, will you try that out? And let's just to check to make sure the installation worked in general, and then we can look at why it's not opening through command line. But while Anderson's trying that out, did anybody else have any other issues to bring up today? If you don't have any issues, if your installer is working, then that's all we have planned for today. So you are free to go. And again, like I said, make sure that you keep an eye out on your email. I'll be sending out an announcements email for next week on Friday with a couple of important details, including the Zoom links for the workshop.
Hello, do you listen to me?
Hey, Julio.
Hello, so I have access to a virtual machine, and it's a Windows server, and it was working until I tried to install version 4.6, and then I uninstalled every other version. But then after that, every time I try to run anything on the player, any simulation, it goes like Python has stopped working. And I cannot simulate anything anymore in this virtual machine. I don't know what to do. If this a very specific problem or it's a simple thing, just like click here and it's gone. I don't know if you want me to share the screen or.
Yeah, I'm not sure. TJ, do you know about this?
No, this is not a problem I've heard about yet. What's the virtual machine?
It's 2012 R2. Let me just check. Yeah, 2012 R2 Windows Server. No, I can run from my computer, but I have access to the virtual machine, so why not?
Sure. Yeah, this this might be worth reporting on the CompuCell GitHub repository. So not heard of this issue otherwise. I'll say maybe the simplest solution is that if the previous version of CompuCell was working for you on that virtual machine and that's what you prefer to use, there isn't anything in the workshop that requires the most recent version of CompuCell.
Yeah, the big point and the mysterious problem is that now I can't run CompuCell in any version. It's like I don't know, a Python error or something like that in the in all the
Oh,
virtual machine. I don't know. I can open Python. I can run codes in Python, but Python has stopped working in every simulation I try to run in the player. I don't.
and even with previous
Yeah,
CompuCell.
4.1, 4.5, and 4.6. Any of them now work. I don't know if I like a big bug happened when I installed all the previous versions, but no, this is what happens.
When you ran them, so when you did the installation, did you do it yourself through Conda or did you use the installer?
Add the installer every time.
Yeah, do through the Conda and create an environment. That's a problem. Probably because now there's so many bases / CC3D that it doesn't know which one to pick. So it
Maybe.
causes it doesn't know which Python you want because there is different Pythons in different versions and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think
Oh, okay.
that would be my suggested solution to try first. The installer is supposed to support updating your versions. So I'll say that you should be able to successfully just run the installer and get updated versions without having an issue like this. But for now, you could try completing the Conda-based installation from the virtual machine and see if that resolves your issue.
Okay, I'll try it. I'll try it later with the instructions you said here.
Okay, and if you run into any additional issues when you go to do this, put my email in the chat. Feel free to email me directly with screenshots or tracebacks or otherwise. See if we can get this worked out.
All right. Thank you.
Julio, you do have a working local installation in the meantime, right?
Yeah, in my notebook, I have
Okay.
one.
Great.
All right, we've got another. So Rama Alamed says, I can't run the player. I'm missing a Python module called CC3D player 5. So
Okay, Rama, did you use the installer or did you go through the Conda installation? Okay. Great, thanks. And were you able to activate the environment that the installer installed for you?
well, I guess maybe we should also ask first, are you just trying to open CompuCell to use CompuCell normally, or were you trying to follow along with the environment activation steps? Like, is this a problem with the base installation or a problem that you ran into during the activity today or walkthrough?
Promise. Okay, so it's just running player in general. And Rama, what's your operating system? Windows 10. And are you just trying to use the shortcut that the installer created for you. I see. The bat file isn't working. Uh, and the error is that it's missing player 5. What about when you try the Twedit bat? No module name CC3D is what Anderson gets. Sounds like the installer failed.
Or that they are not in the right environment. One of the two.
Oh. They're trying the bat. Those batch files activate the environment for them.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so
Well,
likely the mini Conda installation itself worked, but creating the environment and installing CompuCell into it likely failed.
they can try to do it manually over the Anaconda prompt. It's relatively simple. Just go on the search bar, do Anaconda prompt. And then from there, you will already start on base. Just do a env check to see if CC3D is there. You'll appear as like a slash CC3D. If that's the one, you can try to run there, Python -m, and then the player 5. You should open. I can show you if you want me to show that, how they can do manually.
Robert, with your last comment, you said that so you tried the latest version, and if I'm understanding correctly, you tried the installer multiple times. Show how to install it that way. Yeah, Joel, you want to share your screen and demonstrate what you were just describing?
Yeah, let me, oh, it's still recording. Let me clean my working area. So many codes, so many stuff.
And pause the recording if you want.
No, it's fine. There you go. So on your search bar, you can just type Anaconda prompt and you'll pop it up this app. It's just a prompt like any other one. And here you can check if you have your CC3D environment. I have a couple of different ones, and yours will probably show on base and have a /CC3D. That one is the one that you want to activate. So if you have multiple on the base, you can just do like Conda, activate, and then you grab the one that is CC3D, one of the environments that actually is CC3D, and you activate that one. It will appear this message, but this is fine. And now from here, you can do a Python m CC3D player 5. And it should open.
Did that work, Rama, or are you still testing?
Roma, did it work for you this way?
He's lost in the command line void.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can let us know in a minute, Rama, if it was working for you. Okay.
Oh, I can try to do it again if you want. So let me show you. So first thing, when you open the Anaconda prompt, or are you able to open the Anaconda prompt? I cannot see the chat. You have to help me there. Maybe. I found it. Okay.
And one note, when you open the Anaconda prompt for the first time, sometimes it can take a minute or two to initialize. So if it comes up blank, just let it sit for a few minutes. Or well, shouldn't take a few minutes, but let it sit for 30 seconds, which is forever in computational time. But it may take a minute to actually give you the command prompt.
Yeah. If it's your first time, Hayden knows that. Or
It seems to happen the first time every time you reboot your computer too.
yeah, so let us know, Rama, if you got the prompt open. Okay, great. So now you can run this command conda-env list. It will give you all the environments that you have on your conda install. And then from that one, you should look up for the one that says CC3D something. One of the ones, especially if you did for the normal, it will probably be on base. And you can just select, if it's already with the star, means that you're already on it. But for example, if I try to do something here and call, I don't have on base on my, you get this error. So you have to be on the environment that your CompuCell install. So I have in all of these other ones, I have one. And you can do in 2A, you can do conda activate the name of the thing, for example, CC3D underscore 46. Oh, if I spell correct. Yeah, it's okay if it's mini conda. Just need to be the one that has CC3D installed. And when you activate the right one, it should change the name here. It will not change if it's base, but it will change the name over here. And then after that, you can call the Python, and now it should work. Can you put in the chat what are your environments that you have here? Copy this. Okay, so you're on it. That one, the base, you can even call now the Python from there, the Python slash am, this command over here.
Oh, thanks, Joel.
Sure.
So then how are we doing otherwise? Oh, I got the same issue, module not found.
Module of, okay, so the installation failed somewhere.
Rowan, if you have the environment activated successfully, you can test whether CompuCell successfully installed by issuing the command conda list. And you will see a list of software printed out in the terminal. And if CompuCell installed, then you should find in that list the name CC3D. Thanks, Joel. Yeah, as you can see on Joel's screen there, there's the command conda list, and then there's this big long list, and you should see the packages that Joel is highlighting. If you don't see those, then the installation failed, and you should try running it again.
And if you run it again, I highly recommend you to start in a new environment.
Has those.
Can you share the error message, like the whole message? When you try to call did you put the M in front of it? Oh yeah, you have to put the M because otherwise it would not show module. Um,
Okay. So Ron confirms that the CC3D packages did not install. Okay, so yeah, I think the course of action here is to try rerunning the installer. Um,
The installer can sometimes take a long time, particularly if you mentioned earlier, you're having some network issues. So I would recommend just letting it sit, even if it's taking forever. And it may be that there's some kind of server timeout or something happening, but But yeah, I would give running the installer again and see if it takes this time. So you should only have to download it once. The installer package is the same. Um, you just need to run the installer, and then it may take some time to actually grab things. But um, it's a good question. So
I wonder if he shouldn't start to like do it from Conda since he already knows how to open it and stuff.
yeah, I mean that's an option. You can set up a Conda environment like we did today and try to install it that way if the installer keeps crashing. But I mean, from what I understand, the installer basically just runs the Conda installers in the background anyway. For trying different versions, you'll need at least 4.5. We're going to be using 4.6 during the workshop. Everything between 4.5 and 4.6 should work together pretty well, but nothing lower than 4.5. But we'd still recommend trying to get just the latest installer working.
That's all you need. You need to do in that order, so you can install just in one place and not, although you do a channel. Um, you're able to this way set up an environment, but now you have to activate the environment called CC3D. After you finish, well, after you finish, you're doing that over here.
In the meantime, Rob, I'll say if we do run out of time and don't get this resolved in this session, I'll put my email in the chat again, and please feel free to email me directly, screenshots, copies of traceback errors or anything helpful to try to get this resolved. We can certainly get this worked out before the workshop. Oh, yeah, there's my email again in the chat.
And don't worry, Rama, it's complicated sometimes, especially if people never touch these things. It's a little bit scary to see that black screen full of text. So don't worry.
All right, other questions? Guess we still got a few other people in the room. Is there anybody else still struggling with their installer? Natalie, ma'am, yes, hopefully we can help you with your Mac installation. So what's the issue, Natalie?
Hey, so I follow the installation manual, and after I download the I think the installer, and then I pass the command file, the command on the terminal, and then they offer me like they show me that like no such file directory found it like this. Um,
Could you possibly share your screen to show us
yeah, sure.
the error?
I'm using my Mac with the old one.
Okay, and you grabbed the old x86 installers.
this the case that she's just not in the right directory? It looks like.
It look like that.
Yeah, it could be. Natalie, would you mind sharing your screen for us
Yes.
so we can make sure you're running these in the right place?
Hold on. System to grant access. Okay. System. Oh, hold on. I have to lead a meeting before like. Hold on.
Okay, to change the permissions.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yes. Hey, can you see my? Okay, good, good.
Yes, we can. Good.
Okay, so
Yeah,
so
so
do you see?
where did you download the files to?
Oh, I download this into the desktop local. This one.
All right, so you'll need to start if you go back to your terminal.
Like, I'm sorry.
Go back to your terminal,
Okay.
and then you'll need to put in CD space.
CD space.
Uh, no, sorry. Here, I'll put it in chat. CD and then just a blank space, and then desktop.
Um. Oh, so I have to change the comment. Let me see. Installer. But like like I have to modify the comment.
No, so right now you're just in your general user directory
Okay.
in your terminal where it
Mm-hmm.
says, it's got your username and then MacBook Air 2. So what you need to do, because you saved your file to the desktop, we need to change what the terminal is looking at to your desktop. So you'll go ahead and type CD and then spacebar and then desktop with a capital D. Press
Mm-hmm.
enter.
Oh,
Now you should be able to run those commands and it will unpack everything.
okay. Let me check again. Um. Uh. This one.
Yes, and you'll run those one at a time. Well, I guess, can you run them at the same time?
Like run what?
So the where you've got / CC3D, get rid of that. Just run the one that's chmod plus X.
Oh, hold on. Like the access. Okay.
Yeah, just go ahead and click OK. We'll see if it works.
Hold on. Can you repeat it again?
Yeah, so
Like.
where you've got
Oh,
your line there, that second
mhm.
line, just get rid of the second line
Oh, let hold on.
because you've got two commands in there
Oh,
at once.
what happened?
Oh, no, it's working.
Like so right now I'm gonna wait. Oh. Hmm.
I'm not sure what's happening either. Is it all right? So let's hit was it command C to well, never mind. Hang on, don't do anything.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, it's doing it. It took a second for it to parse both commands, it looks like. All right,
Okay.
so this will probably take a few minutes.
Okay.
So I would say just let it sit here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can check in a minute or two to see if it's if it's going okay.
Okay. So how was your day?
It was good. How was yours?
It's great. So I am looking for jobs, and like on Tuesday I went to my local medical center, like Baylor University, and then asking for a professor, like if like they accept like research assistant. And well, the meeting was cool, unless the thing about the funding. Like he said that like if work with him, like I possibly like have to will support myself for a few months before he talk with someone in financial department or apply for grant.
Mhm.
So the problem with the funding is that in order to work long term with them, with the lab,